Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be doing a trying new makeup. I recently posted my first Sephora haul from the sale and I got a lot of stuff that I want to try out. I'm still waiting on a couple orders, so another haul will be coming. But I thought today we could try out some of the products that I picked up. I have the Fenty Beauty Eavesdrop Blurring Skin Tint I really want to try. I also did get the One Size Secure the Blur Primer. I never hauled it for you guys, but I thought that we would use this today as well as the One Size powder to set. So that's sort of the base, but I really want to use cream products today. So I want to try out this new Say blush. This is their Dew blush in the shade Rosy. I bought this during the sale, as well as the Patrick Ta duos. I'm hearing mixed reviews. These are the new Bronze and Sculpt. So there's a cream contour in here, and then there is a powder bronzer. I tried this one time and I had patching, but I tried it over powder. Today I'm going to try it on an unset face to really give it a shot. I also have the Ethereal Bloom palette from Artist Couture that I picked up. I thought I could do something just like soft pastel kind of, as well as the Juvia's Place Prep Eye Primer. I've shown this in a PR haul, but I actually bought one and then they sent me all the shades. So I'm going to use this today to prime my eyes and show you how it works, kind of tell you about the formula. And I also have the ColourPop brow waxes I thought we could play with. These are the new Tinted Feather Effect styling waxes, as well as this like little tool that they sent over. I've been using these, so I'll tell you my thoughts. And then I want to try the ColourPop Act Natural Defining Mascara. For lips, I don't know. We'll see where this takes us, but these are the main products I want to focus on. So I will link everything down below. If you're new here, I hope you'll subscribe, and let's go ahead and begin. My bulldog has walked in this room. This is the 8th time. I don't know if he's bored, it's snowing outside, but I'm like, listen, I have to get this done. This room is so small and there's like light stands everywhere, so he's like tripping over the light stands and makeup boxes on the floor. It's just been a wild ride here, and I've been waiting for him to just go lay down and take a nap, but he's back. So if you hear claws, that's what it is. So let's start off with the Juvia's Place Eye Prep, Eye Prime, Eye Primer. There's 3 different shades. I have the shade 1 here, which is very light. It's almost white. So I bought this from Ulta, and then they did send me PR. This is the only shade that will work for me because the second shade was quite dark or tan, and then they had a really deep shade as well. So I feel like there's a nice shade range for everybody to try. The one thing I thought was this was gonna be like, I'm sorry about his claws. Originally, I thought this would be a dupe for the P. Louise base. I'm feeling like it might be a little bit more like the Anastasia Beverly Hills one, specifically this color and the texture. But the one thing I noticed is that oil comes out with it sometimes. Now, when I just swatched it, it didn't. So make sure you're shaking this heavily, like really give it a shake, because the first time that I squirted some on the back of my hand, it was straight oil and then it was like pigment. So this is what it swatches like. Again, reminds me of the ABH, because the ABH is quite, you know, white almost, and this is kind of what this is. So the way that I usually do my makeup lately is I apply a eye primer first to really carve out under my brow and to cover up the tail end of my brow because I have microblading. I don't think this is going to cover that because it doesn't have any like peachy tones. All right, so I'm going to zoom you in. I don't know if you can see how dry my eyelids look. It definitely is not going to cover up this. I'm almost tempted to take it off, to be honest, because I just feel like look at when I like go like that, it looks so dry. So I went ahead and removed that and then just applied my base that I've been using. I have a hard time covering up the tail end of my microblading on my brow, and you guys have been loving my brows lately, but I've been kind of lifting them just to lift the face. So I've been lifting the tail a little bit, and to do that I do have to cover as best I can, which is really hard because it is kind of tattooed on there. So I removed the Juvia's Place. The color's not my favorite. It's a little bit too bright for me, but also I felt that it looked dry as I zoomed in. So for me, it's just not a favorite. I don't think it's terrible. The color really just isn't for me. So what I've been doing is mixing the P. Louise base. This is something that I've had for a long time. So I have the shade Rumor 2, and then I've been mixing it with my Kimchi Chic in the shade Medium Beige. This has a yellow tone, but this one has a little bit of a peachy tone. And I find that them together, the coverage and consistency is really nice to cover up my brows as best I can. So next I want to move into eyeshadow. eyeshadow. I have never tried an Artist Couture eyeshadow, and this has gotten some bad reviews, which I'm like, no, I hope I don't dislike it. This is the Ethereal Bloom palette. I love the packaging on this, and I love the colors on here, so I thought we would do a really pretty spring look. I really am like, which way do I want to go? I might go for the purples, but I feel like I don't do that enough. As I said, this is my first experience with Artist Couture shadows, and swatching them, it did seem a little hit or miss. Some of them seemed pigmented. The shimmers seem a little bit flaky and hard pressed. So we'll have to try this out. I'm going to start out with the shade, I believe it's called Eternity. It's the most neutral shade in the palette. So there's definitely some kick up in the pan, but I've noticed that this seems like a really thin formula, the mattes in particular. So I'm gonna sort of use this as a transition. I think FedEx is here. What's he dropping off? Maybe he's not. Seems nice, pigmented. I'm not having any issues blending this. Maybe from swatching it, the bad reviews may possibly be from the shimmers because they do swatch a little chunky and almost like toppers. I have to say it's snowing in Ohio today, and I'm like, excuse me, what is happening? My husband told me that it was gonna snow, and I was like, really? Like, I couldn't believe it. And then I woke up. It's really beautiful, but also like, no, I thought we were past that, you know? So that's kind of annoying. It looks like it's gonna be just a little bit chilly and rainy for the rest of the week. First shade blended just fine. I'm gonna go in next to Petal, which is this really beautiful, like bright lilac purple. I'm hoping these don't get muddy together because that would be not great. So I'm gonna keep this a little bit lower so it sort of blends up into that first shade, just to make it not as purple. I feel like this is definitely a soft shade, and that's something you can have with pastels. Generally, they are gonna be softer. And again, if I did use a white base, it probably would pop more. Yeah, it's definitely really soft mixed in, because you can see like on the swatch, it's bright. I'm not having any issues blending at all, so that's good, but I just don't know. I noticed when swatching them, some of them swatch really punchy, others are very soft. So I think for the lid, I am gonna try to go in with Glorious, which is this pretty purple, but it is like a topper. It just feels a little bit chunky. You're gonna have to build it up. So I'm going in dry first. I wanna see what kind of color I can get here. Yeah, so I think that's where the bad reviews are coming from, just because it's definitely not as impactful. It's a little chunky. You know what? I should have listened, but I didn't. Sometimes you just have to buy things you know that people are like, eh. Not that this is horrible, but I can definitely understand people not being like wowed. Because when I'm looking at my eyes now, I feel like it looks like I barely have anything on. I'm like trying to figure out how to make this work, but I just feel like this is not good. At first I was like, oh, it's not bad. Yeah, no. Well, since we're here, maybe I should try Poppy, which is the pink. Let's mix that with the sort of lilac color. I just feel like this is a rough one. Okay, that looks a little better. It's still not great. Here comes the bulldog. Some days it just is this way where I'm like, can I get a minute, please? So I quickly went off camera and put liner on. I want to go in next with the ColourPop mascara, but I feel like we're 0 for 2 right now. The first 2 products just were not my favorite, so hopefully we like this mascara. So this is the ColourPop Act Natural Defining Mascara. I'm gonna wear lashes today, but I thought we would test this out. Mascara brand, I guess, says natural. To me, that's like, oh, no. Like, I need the false lash look for my natural lashes. Feels like a drier formula, like nothing's coming off, so let's just try it out. I guess my point is I don't naturally have huge lashes, so when I hear a mascara claiming to look natural, I'm like, no, I don't want it to look natural. I want it to look like I have lash extensions. Basically, I need all the help I can get, is what I'm saying. If you have like massive lashes and you want to tone them down, but I feel like most people when using mascara are really trying to get their lashes to look as long and voluminous as possible. So it definitely did give me some length. It's not clumpy, very easy to build up. It's not one that you're gonna have to struggle with and it's gonna be all over, but I don't know if it's going to give you crazy length and volume, which I feel like that's what most of us are looking for. For me, the only time I don't wear lashes typically is when I don't wear like anything on my eyes, like no liner, just because it makes my lashes look even smaller. So I quickly threw on some lashes. These are from Beauty Creations. I purchased these myself. I purchased a big order a few months ago, and I have the style on BB Alert. These are from the faux mink, and I've noticed that I like the faux mink with the hot pink packaging. The style's the best, and I've been wearing a few recently. These are really nice lashes and are not expensive at all. So if you're looking for a ton of different styles, that I believe these were like under 10 bucks each, and they feel nice. They feel like real mink, but they're not. So I will link them down below, but I think this is like my third pair of Beauty Creations that I've been trying lately, and I haven't had any issues with any of them. Okay, so now I wanna move on to this One Size Secure the Blur Makeup Magnet Primer. So this is supposed to be really nice for your pores and also to grip on to your foundation. I've noticed that you really have to like squeeze hard. Like I'm squeezing and nothing's coming out. You really have to squeeze. So I wanna say if you have a hard time like with your hands or like whatever it is, you have a hard time like grasping and gripping, this is really hard to get out. Like I feel like I'm like squeezing super heavy. It looks like this, it's just like a clear, that just really grossed me out. Did anybody else? Let's not talk about that. On my hand there, that just looked a little sus, okay? So it's a clear gel. It feels like it has a slip to it, but it's not like a Benefit Professional kind of feel. Oh my God. Okay, I'm trying to get more out because I don't feel like I had enough. So I'm really gonna focus this in my T-zone. I don't notice a scent, which I like. It doesn't irritate. So I'm really gonna focus this. Yeah, it's kind of interesting because it has a gel texture, feels nice and smoothing on the skin, but it doesn't have a crazy slip like a Benefit Professional would. So we will see how it works with this Fenty skin tint. Okay, so now I wanna go into the skin tint. This is the Fenty Beauty Eavesdrop Blurring Skin Tint. I got the shade 5. Probably gonna be a little light for me because I have a fresh tan on, but it'll be fine. We'll just make it work. I have heard people either love this and it's great, or they hate it and it sits on their skin. That's kind of what I keep hearing. And the packaging is really cute. It's just a squeeze tube. So you can see the shade's gonna be just maybe a little light. I don't know, it might be fine. The description says this is light, buildable to medium coverage. So we're gonna have to see. I'm just gonna use my Haley's sponge. Any sponge should do. We'll see how buildable it is. My issue with light coverage is that I have general redness. So for me, that's really the only reason that I want coverage. Like if I just wanted to cover my acne spots, then I would just use like a concealer, but I feel like it's harder to spot conceal when you are like flushed or you have rosacea like I do. But I feel like this is a decent coverage. I would say it's a light coverage, but hopefully we can build it. My trouble area is always my nose. My nose is so red. So this is what my skin is looking like with the Eavesdrop Blurring Skin Tint. I really like the finish of it. It is a natural finish. It's not really dewy, it's not thick and heavy, but it's also not matte. I would like a little bit more coverage really just for my T-zone. So for me, I might mix in like my NARS Soft Matte or just put concealer around my red areas first. But I feel like the coverage is buildable. I build it up. You can still see a little bit of my texture and stuff coming through, but I feel comfortable. I think when I'm on camera and I have lashes on and everything, I always feel like I need more coverage. But for a day-to-day, this would definitely be fine for me. So I actually don't hate it. I feel like it's, you know, looks nice on the skin. I don't know if I would say smoothing. Anything enhances my pores until I powder it, but it's definitely not accentuating my texture. So far so good. We'll have to see how it wears. I don't have a new concealer, so I'm just gonna use my Armani Power Fabric just because this is a really nice blendable formula and I have a light shade that will work for me. And also this is a more natural concealer, so I feel like it will work with what we have going on. So now I want to go into some cream products. So I had mentioned that I used the Patrick Ta. These are the Major Sculpt. It's a cream contour and a powder bronzer. So I'd used this over powder the other day and it patched up on me. I don't have that issue with the blushes, so that's why I tried this over powder, because I just wanted to see how it would work, and I feel like it's just not going to work, and I'm hearing a little bit of mixed reviews. From my experience and what I'm hearing, I don't think that this is going to work over powder as easily as the blushes do. I'm not sure if it's the placement or what, but I have had a little bit of issue with it. So for me, I'm gonna try it on an unset face today. Same thing with this blush from Say. I don't know how it's going to react, and I don't want to mess up my whole makeup or, you know, say it's a bad product, because really creams typically go over an unset face. But I will say the market is killing it with cream blushes like the Melt and the Patrick Ta and the Tower 28, where they can go over powder. So let's try out this product on an unset face. So this is the cream contour and powder bronzer duo. I have the shade She's Sculpted. Now they did send over the lightest shade, but I think it's gonna be too light for me. So I'm gonna go in with the median shade, or the medium shade. So here is the cream contour. Let me swatch the bronzer for you. So here's the cream, and then here's the powder. Now, as I said, I did buy this medium shade, but they did send me the light, and they also sent me the brush. So I'm gonna try the brush out. Usually I would use a sponge. I've heard some people say they've had better luck with the brush. So we're gonna dip in to the contour cream side, and I am going to take a little bit off the back of my hand because I don't wanna go in too heavy. So I'm sort of stamping with this side of the brush that's thinner, and then lightly trying to blend it up. So using the fluffy side of the brush. So I'm not having patching now, but I do feel like this is very finicky. And I'm just gonna be real with you, I don't have the patience for this. Like for me, I'd rather just use a powder contour. It looks nice, but I just feel like at any moment it's going to lift or patch. So this is what it's looking like. I don't know. You guys can tell me down below, but I just feel like it's so finicky that I'm like terrified it's gonna lift and start moving. I just am not the best with an unset face. Like right now, all I can see is like wrinkles under my eyes, like little fine lines that need set, you know, the texture around my pores. I just really, and I also don't like the feeling of it. You know how some people hate powder and they like to feel really, you know, hydrated and they don't set their face? That's not me. I'm complete opposite. So I do like cream blushes, but I like ones that play well with powder. So for me, I'm just a little bit sad because I thought that I would be able to use a sponge and stipple this over a lightly set face. And I probably don't think that's gonna happen. Next, I am going to set my T-zone with a loose powder. I'm just gonna use Maybelline Fit Me. Cheryl's got me back on this. So I'm gonna set just the center of my face, and then I'm gonna go in with the powder side of this bronzer, the blush, all of that. So I set my T-zone down with the Maybelline powder. It's a little bit light for me, and I'm noticing a little bit of just dryness around my nose. My nose is always the culprit that skin tints or foundations just don't wanna stick to. But I'm gonna go in with this one size pressed powder for the perimeters of my face. I picked up the shade Light 3. So I want to use this under the contour. Also want to use it on my forehead just lightly. Okay, now I'm going to jump in to the powder side of the Patrick Ta Bronze and Sculpt. This makes me so nervous. Putting a powder straight over a cream contour. I just feel like for some reason it's so interesting how different our skins are or our skin reacts to stuff, because I just feel like it's grabbing no matter what I do. Even if I do like a light stippling. So I'm switching to a fluffier brush. Something about cream contour, for whatever reason, it just doesn't want to play nicely with my skin. So it's not even just Patrick Ta, it's just cream contours in general. But I just feel like, I don't know if you can see, it looks like it's just grabbed right there. So next I want to go in with this Say blush. I'm terrified, to be honest, because I feel like I'm already having patching and my skin's not looking the best. So let's go in with this Dew blush in the shade Rosy. Comes with a doe foot applicator and it's a really beautiful shade, but I don't know how it works. So I'm going to use a sponge like I normally would. I would just put it on the back of my hand and then dip my sponge into it to get the pigment. Hopefully this product doesn't get patchy. Definitely has a beautiful like glow to it. And it's blending nicely from what I can see. Okay, we may have a winner. I'm just building it up. Okay, I like that. This is like the first product from the whole trying new makeup today that I'm like, okay, this could become something I really like. All right, we might have a winner. This is the best product I've tried today, or my favorite personally. So I'm gonna quickly do a little bit of highlight and then I wanna zoom in and we'll work on the brows and try out this ColourPop product. So I did apply highlighter. I used my Nabla Ozone. This is just like a OG fave for me. So now I wanna go into the ColourPop Feather Effect Styling Waxes. There is clear and there's also tinted. I thought we would try the tinted today. I've been using the clear a little bit and I like it. I feel like it has nice hold. It's kind of like soap brows, but the one thing is you do have to spritz this, whereas with like the ABH Brow Freeze, you just go through your brows. Now there's also this tool, which at first I was like, do we really need a tool? But I mean, it is nice to have a tool that really fits right in and brushes your brow hairs up. So I'm gonna use the tinted. It says to activate, use a drop of water or a setting spray. So I'm just gonna use a setting spray. So I have sprayed one time into the little pan here and I'm gonna run my spoolie back and forth and you can see the product is coming off. So I don't think I've tried the tinted. But I have been using the clear and I felt like it really did hold the brows. I'm not noticing like a ton of tint. So if you're kind of worried about that, I wouldn't necessarily be put off by that. Maybe a little bit, I can see like right under my brow, but you can see it's really lifted my brows. It is kind of confusing trying to figure out where to put the spoolie in so that it works for each brow. I mean, there's no like right way, but just whichever way is more comfortable to hold this since it does have that like bent edge. So I guess I can see some tint, but I do like this product. See what I mean? Like you have to make sure that you have the spoolie in the right angle here. And then what I always do to really lock this down is press with whatever. You could use a brush handle, your fingers. This way it really just adheres the brow hairs to your skin so they stay fluffy. But I think people are really gonna enjoy this because it really does hold your brows. They don't like droop and it's not super clumpy or sticky. It just really holds your brows up. So I think this is probably gonna be a winner. So I went ahead and lined my lips with my Nabla Close Up Lip Shaper in nude number 4. I love this formula. I think I'm gonna take it old school with my lipstick because I want something that's a little bit sort of peachy. So I'm gonna take Pat McGrath Peep Show. And then in the center of my lips, I'm gonna go in with Thirst Trap from Artist Couture. I love his glosses. I like them because they're really light colors. So for me, they help me lighten up the center of my lip and give me that like shine. So they're really pigmented, but I like how they just sort of lighten up my lips a little bit. All right, guys, here's my finished makeup look using all new makeup, and I wanna tell you my thoughts, starting off with the Juvia's Place Eye Prep Eye Prime Eye Primer. For me, it's just not a favorite for the reasons I mentioned earlier. You definitely wanna shake it up and it can get the job done, but I find that it's a little bit dry on my eyelids and also just not the right tone to cover up the ends of my brows. I still struggle covering them up. If you have any ideas, let me know. That's not too heavy, but just covering up that microblading. So this is an okay product for me, but it's not gonna become a favorite. I'm really disappointed in the Artist Couture palette. A lot of you told me that it had bad reviews or you had heard bad stuff about it, and I just wanted to try it myself. The mattes were better than the shimmers, but they're just so light, especially for me being, you know, like a medium, light, medium skin tone. I don't know about, you know, deeper complexions being able to really see these. And the shimmer, I feel like I built it up and I built it up and I just really didn't get much, and then it kind of flaked. So this is just not the best formula, unfortunately. I will say that if you look for pastels, or if you're looking for a pastel palette, definitely the Huda Beauty Mercury Retrograde is a great palette. There's other ones as well, but that one stands out to me, where you can really get just nice pigment and everything builds up beautifully and you can get that high shine. This one was just sort of a dud. So I'm a little disappointed that I didn't listen to people. I had to see it for myself. I feel like the look is pretty, like it's fine, but this is a formula that I don't think wowed me at all. In terms of the ColourPop mascara, I'm gonna have to keep trying it. It's supposed to be a natural mascara, which again is kind of interesting on the market because I feel like most mascaras are like falsies or extreme length, and this is like act natural. And I'm like, no, I don't wanna act natural. I want my lashes to look like I have lashes on. So my first impression is it's not clumpy, it's buildable, it's a drier formula, so it's not gonna be messy, hard to work with. I don't know if it gave me like crazy length that I was like, wow, maybe there's a market for people with beautiful long lashes that are looking for a natural mascara. For me, that's just not it, but I'll keep trying it out. My first impression is good, not blowing my mind. In terms of the One Size Secure the Blur Magnet Primer, I like that it's nice and smooth. It feels hydrating and it's a gel-like texture, but it doesn't have that slip. I don't really like those anymore. The ones that are really slick and kind of move around, which is like the Benefit Professional. I prefer like the Tarte Timeless. It's a little bit thicker and you can really work it into your pores. This one feels nice, like you could put it all over, but it also helps with pores. Why do I always do this? It helps with smoothing out the pores, so I really try to focus it right here. So far I'm liking this. I've used it, a handful of times. I'll keep trying it with favorite, foundations, and we'll see if I really notice a difference, or maybe we'll do like a battle one day where I do the Tarte on one side, this on the other, and see which one is more smooth. In terms of the Fenty Beauty Ease Drop Blurring Skin Tint, I feel like the claims are right on this. Has a beautiful natural finish. I feel like I look quite glowy. I didn't use a setting spray at all today. And I also like that the coverage is enough to take the edge off. A lot of times really light coverage just doesn't work for everybody, and I think that's something we need to keep in mind. Some people have a lot of redness, hyperpigmentation, acne scarring that they may not be comfortable showing, and I think that's why I feel like there's such a bad thing about like full coverage. Like full coverage is just cakey and horrible, and it's like, well, some people have issues that make them feel insecure and they want to cover that. So I think it's nice that this actually does have a buildable coverage, so you can do that. Of course, you can also use a concealer. I'm just glad that it's not a light coverage that's not buildable, because I feel like it's really tough for people that have anything to cover to enjoy those products if they're not comfortable with, whatever they've got going on that they want to get a little bit more coverage out of. The one thing I noticed about this is it did get a little bit funky and powder dried to it, sort of in a weird kind of cakey way around my nose. So I did just put on some faux freckles to kind of soften that and just make it look more blended so you couldn't really tell. But just be mindful when you're powdering this. If you're somebody that doesn't typically powder, I don't think you would have to, but for me, I always powder. So this would not be a long wear. I wouldn't wear this out, or I wouldn't wear this, to a concert, whatever. I mean, not that we're doing anything anyways, but you know what I mean? I wouldn't wear this for long wear. This would be like an everyday when I'm not doing a bunch of eyeshadow and I'm just going to really, play up the skin and make it super glowy. But so far my thoughts on this is it's nice. I just don't see it lasting very long, but I kind of anticipate that with anything that is like a skin tint. Now moving on to the Patrick Ta Sculpt Duos. I just don't know, you guys. I am die hard for his blushes, but I like to use them over a set face, and I just don't have the patience to really be worried about patching and where I put powder and if it's gonna grab and if it's gonna lift. And a lot of you commented in my Sephora haul that you were having a little bit of issues too. Now I like the bronzer side of it. Like I think the bronzer is nice. It has a nice radiance to it. I have no problems with it grabbing, but for me, I am just not good with cream contour, like any cream contour. And I've tried a lot of them. Not that they're bad, but I just always feel like I have to be so careful for any lifting or grabbing. And for me, that can like ruin my whole base. So I'm a little bit disappointed in this. I'll keep trying it out, but I don't foresee this becoming a favorite, which like literally guts me because I love his blushes so much. I love the blushes so much. And I'm curious, I need to look at the ingredients, because why do the blushes go over powder fine with a sponge, but this patches. I don't understand that unless there's a difference in formula. So I will check into that, but for me, this is okay, not blowing my mind. But again, keep in mind, I'm not a cream contour lover. I just thought because the blushes work so easily over powder that this may as well, but I just don't think that's the case. Standout product for me today is gonna be this blush. Wow, it is beautiful, beautiful. I feel like it really tied everything together for me. I love this formula. Typically, I love cream formula, so I'm used to sort of dipping in and then tapping off on the back of my hand, whereas this, I just swiped it on the back of my hand and then just kind of put my sponge into it to really diffuse it so there's not like a harsh pigment that's gonna grab on. And I just built it up, I have to say, very dewy, beautiful, doesn't enhance my texture. Oh, it's so pretty. That highlight is pretty too. I mean, that Nabla highlight is like it. But I know most of the shades are sold out right now, but I have to say, ooh, this is something that I would buy a few more shades of. Also quite impressed with these ColourPop Feather Effect styling waxes. Obviously, ColourPop is a great price point, and I think this is a great product. If you're willing to wet it, you definitely have to wet it. So it's an extra step. I know some people like me, I can be lazy sometimes and I just wanna throw it on and go. But for the price point, to save the money and to have your brows really get that feathery look and stay up all day, I think this is a great product. I've been testing it for the past few days and it really does work just like the Brow Freeze from ABH, but it's a lower price point and you do have to wet it. I also really like this little tool. At first I was like, I wouldn't buy that, but to be honest, it gets right in there and really does the work for you. So it may be something that you want to check out. So I will link these down below, but I'm quite impressed with this too. I would say this and the blush today were like the top two products for me. In terms of the one size powder, I'm not sure yet, just because I want to try it with foundations I know and love, so I know how they react and I'll see how it smooths, if I like it as a setting powder, sort of like I use the Gucci pressed powder, or if I like this to set under my eyes like I would with the Charlotte Tilbury powder. Not many pressed powders are good under my eyes down my T-zone, but the Charlotte Tilbury actually is. So this may be one that I use to set, it may be one that I use to touch up, so I will keep you guys updated, but there's nothing bad about it. I just need to try it with my tried and true foundations. So that is everything for today's trying new makeup. I actually like the look in the end. Like, I feel like I look really nice and healthy and glowy, so I don't dislike it, but we had a little bit of a rough road getting there. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Let me know your thoughts down below. Did you pick up any of these? Are you looking into them? What do you think about how everything applied? I will link everything down below. If you're new here, I hope you'll subscribe and I'll see you in the next video.